What's going on, everyone? This is the South Bay Rebel channel, and today we're going to be bringing you something a little different than what we usually cover. This is not Star Wars related, it is not Lego related, but it is Hot Wheels related. I picked this stuff up at the local thrift shop where I tend to find many hidden treasures from time to time, and this one was pretty neat. Hot Wheels are a little bit hit and miss for me, not in the sense of how much I enjoy them and like to pick them up, because I would buy every single one if I had the chance. But in terms of when I find them at the thrift store, sometimes they're worth the price tag that they put on them, and sometimes they are not. And in this case, I definitely felt like the value was there. There's 4 that were on card back, mixed in with a whole bunch that were on card back, but these were the ones that definitely stood out. And cards aren't in great condition. They have a price tag slapped on the back of all of them, but I thought that they were good enough buys, and even if I overpaid for the card back ones, I think I made my value back in the 2 plastic containers in the background there that we'll touch on a little later. But the first up is this Ultra Rod, which is pretty neat. It's got that extra touch of like metallic in the paint job. This Camaro was one that I've been chasing for a while and just could not find in store in any variant, and so it was fun to finally find this in person. I was on the verge of trying to just go on eBay and pick one up, but they tend to go for about $5 or $6 plus another $5 or $6 for shipping, so $4 for that one, even with a banged up card. Still pretty worth it. And then there was this one that's much older. I think this is a 2000s, maybe early 2000s card back, and we've got the 1932 Bugatti. So thought that one was pretty neat. It actually has the nicest card back of these 4 that I picked up that were still in package, so pretty cool that something that old survived that well. And you can see there it's from 2005. So yeah, quite old in terms of still being in package. These Hot Wheels date back to the 60s, so not super old, but still cool nonetheless. And then we've got this neat Charger from the Fast and Furious franchise. And I might have this one already. I kind of lost track of some of them over the years, but I thought it was cool, so I picked it up. Definitely think I overpaid on this one. All the carded ones were $4. So that's a little bit of what I was talking about, in the sense that sometimes they're just way overpriced at the thrift shop, but I definitely think I made my money back on these 2 cases, and we'll dive into these now. The biggest issue I have here, however, is the fact that these cases don't have lids. Somebody put them all into this plastic tray and then covered it up with a bunch of masking tape. And for a lot of these, that masking tape is stuck to the top of the cars. So that's gonna be a lot of fun, not really, to peel that off, get these out, and potentially have to clean a bunch of sticky residue off of these. But based on what I saw, I figured that was still going to be worth it if I just put in a little bit of the effort. And so we'll get these open and show you what I've got. Starting off with this one, you can see through the packaging here, there's a big hauler or tow truck. We've got some classics there as well. We got a drag racer, some drift cars or rally cars. That Got Milk van is pretty neat. I always like these blue and orange kind of Gulf themed vehicles too. Anything with that paint scheme always catches my eye. And then flipping it over, what really got my attention was the fact that so many of these have the rubbered wheels. So that means that they are typically from a premium line of Hot Wheels. I'll do a little research and see if these were like single or 2-pack releases and all that stuff, to kind of drill into where they came from and what lines they're from in possibly a future video. But right now I just want to get them all out and see what they look like, see if they're in decent enough shape, and if we can salvage them by getting all that residue off. When I started to try and get the tape off, I definitely was having a hard time. They kind of cross-hatched it over itself and layered it that way, so I did end up having to make a few relief cuts with some scissors. That was a little bit sketchy and definitely not preferred. You might hit the vehicles inside, potentially scratch them or mess up the paint, but I was super careful and managed to make some relief cuts in just the right way to get them out safely. This was a huge pain, and it definitely had me potentially regretting my decision, but I feel like in the end it pays off. We just got to get there. I don't know that I'm going to have you guys watch me struggle with every single one of these trying to get pulled out of this packaging, so let's double up the time and then reconvene. This is where you can see I'm just definitely a bit disappointed in how much the tape was stuck onto the roofs of some of these, but all in all it came off pretty okay, and I'll end up cleaning up the rest later. And then we've arrived here, we've got all that first pack out, and we're going to start diving into this next one. So same thing, I'll kind of skip through this, speed it up, and meet you guys at the end. So as you watch me pull these out, you might notice that there's kind of a running theme with not necessarily the majority of them, but a good chunk of them are American muscle cars. So you saw that Daytona Charger there, you've got a Cuda, that's a old BMW and some rally cars, and then this one is that old style milk truck, and you can see here really struggling. That thing was stuck on there, and finally get it free. This one's super nostalgic. I remember having this one and probably still have it in my personal collection from when I was a little kid. So that one definitely brings me back. And then to recap, some of the highlights or my favorites that came out of this, the ones that I thought really had some potential value for what I paid for them, which was $10 for each of those plastic cases, by the way, and then $4 for each of the card backs. I did get a 25% discount, so that definitely factored into my decision as well. But first up, we've got the Mercedes-Benz car hauler. It looks like it says it's a 1955, and I'm going to butcher this German, but it says it's a Blaues Wunder. So that one's pretty cool. It's got rubber wheels and a really old school look to it. We've also got the, I believe this is a 55 Bel Air. It's definitely 55 or 56 because it doesn't have the big fins on the taillights, but it's the drag race version, and it does say Tri 5 Terror on it. I really like this color blue. It says it's got the 427 motor in it, which is cool, and that nice black down the middle really breaks it up. I like that color combo a lot. And if you notice, that light blue color is a theme here, especially the light blue with the orange. That's the Gulf colors, and very reminiscent of the original Ford GT40. This time, however, we see it on the Fiat to start. Both of these Fiats have rubber wheels, so that's super cool. There's also a Lancia that is Gulf themed in the same colors, also rubber wheels, and the orange rims on that are pretty cool. And we've seen it here one more time with the Shelby Cobra Daytona Coupe. That's the hardtop Shelby Cobra. I will say that the Cobra is a lighter shade of blue, so it doesn't quite fit in with the Lancia and the Fiat, but still cool nonetheless. That one is looks like a standard release, no rubber wheels for that Shelby Cobra. Moving on from that, a couple other neat ones. Again, no rubber wheels on these, but we've got these two 1973 BMWs, which I thought were neat. They seem to have wide body kits on them, and I appreciate the paint schemes, especially one that looks like it's taken down to bare metal and then just sponsored on top of that with the Castrol decals. Rounding things out, we have some American muscle with this pair of Daytona Chargers. One of these is a Hot Wheels. The other one is from another brand called Castline. And there's a little bit of a difference in the scale. That Castline one is a tiny bit longer and a tiny bit wider, but they're really pretty close. You'd have to look pretty hard to notice the scale difference between that and the red Hot Wheels variant. The Hot Wheels version just looks like a pretty standard release, nothing crazy going on there, but this Castline one, for being almost the same size and it should still be in 1/64th scale, has some neat features. So rubber wheels all the way around, and the doors and hood all open, and there's even a motor that has some pretty nice detail for something of this scale under the hood. So pretty impressed there. You even get the triangle windows on the doors as well, so lots and lots of detail. The interior is a little lacking and kind of strange in that it's all just a solid gold color, but pretty impressed for that Castline variant of that Charger there. Always loved these cars with that huge wing in the back. Kind of reminds me of that movie Joe Dirt. And then last but not least, we have this 70 Plymouth Cuda, and I gotta say this one's probably my favorite. I'm generally a Chevy guy, but when it comes to classic American cars, I pretty much like them all. And of this haul, I think this as a Hot Wheel is probably the coolest one in my opinion. I like that deep dark blue with the pops of yellow, orange, and red on the hood. You've got the racing numbers with the 42 on the side, and then you've got those white rims that kind of pop against that dark blue. And this one too has the rubber wheels, or tires rather. And that really was a big factor in how I justified spending the money on these. I saw a bunch in the clear plastic cases that I knew had rubberized wheels, and that was a pretty good indication that these were some higher end Hot Wheels that I could add to my personal collection. Although I overpaid probably for most of those carded versions in the back, I feel like overall I got a pretty good deal, and these are all just going into my personal collection at the end of the day anyways. And with that is going to do it for this video. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this in the future. And as always, I will catch you on the flip side.